Well, hello and welcome to Wild Rivers Film Radio, the official podcast of the Wild Rivers Film Festival here on KCIW LP 100.7 FM. I'm Rick McNamer, and today we're talking with filmmaker Alex Zajicek, writer and director of Sorry We're Dead, an official selection of the 2025 Wild Rivers Film Festival. Before we dive in, we'd like to thank the Wild Rivers Film Festival's 2025 presenting sponsor, the Tallawahdaini Nation, whose generous support makes both our festival and summer film workshop possible. We also thank Oregon's Wild Rivers Coast, Sutter Coast Hospital, and the City of Brookings. To learn more about supporting independent film on the Wild Rivers Coast, visit wildriversfilmfestival.com. If you're just discovering us, welcome. The Wild Rivers Film Festival is a 4-day celebration of indie and local cinema each August in Brookings, screening dozens of films across 3 venues, plus filmmaker Q&As, panels, and special events. This year's festival runs August 13th through the 16th, and passes are on sale now. So, I screened the show today and loved it. So, Alex, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
And like I said, it was just a fun, wonderful film. And for listeners who haven't seen Sorry We're Dead, how do you usually describe the film? Because I was a little surprised after the title.
Yeah. I should have a better pitch for this, especially at this point in the process. But I guess I usually tell people it's a quirky meta dramedy about a young woman that wanted to make movies, but has gotten stuck editing college lectures. Think like TED Talks, but lamer. And she's kind of shriveled up and died creatively and emotionally from that job. And then if I have a little more time to speak, I will.
Oh, you have plenty of time.
Well, yes, but I guess if the pitch goes longer, then I say because she's a filmmaker. The film itself kind of plays with the medium. So, for example, there'll be a scene where she complains about handheld footage, and then the film itself will start using handheld footage in moments. And so kind of a lot of things like this will keep happening throughout the film, where the film plays with the tools of filmmaking itself. It kind of usually pokes the audience and warns them that this will happen beforehand, or kind of doesn't like something like that.
Right. Yeah. So where did the idea originate? And was there a moment, image, or question that sparked it?
Yes. I mean, of course, it's something as big as a feature film. There's a million little different things that make the movie. But at the most basic level, I myself was working. One of my first jobs out of college was filming college lectures for the college I graduated from, filming and editing lectures.
Oh my! So you got that part.
Yes, I lived that experience. So after I really didn't film that many lectures. I was maybe only a few weeks into the job, and was just kind of making note of all these funny coworkers, or just like things going wrong, like a lecturer's head being cut off in the frame that somebody else shot, and then we're trying to fix. And so it was kind of this running list of mistakes, or maybe a lecturer was trying to show off something, but the camera angle was such that we cannot actually see the thing they are showing. Maybe they're raising something in their hand, but an audience member's head is directly in the way, so we can never see what it is they're showing. And there was just a running list of mistakes that kept being made, or just funny things about the job that a couple weeks into the job, I was like, oh, there's something funny here. And I started writing what I thought at the time was a short film about this funny job of filming and editing college lectures. So that's really the inception point, the small little thing that started it all.
Wow. Well, so it sounds like you have a little bit of Lana in you when you doing this movie.
Certainly. I mean, I think it's impossible to make a film without some bit of you in everything.
Sure.
But Lana definitely represents some of me, though I think Lana's a little more dour than I am. Quite more upbeat than she is.
Okay. And of course, the title is provocative. So what does Sorry We're Dead signal to you? Like I said, I was not expecting what I saw. It was wonderful, but yeah. And because I didn't expect to laugh as much as I did throughout the film.
I'm glad you laughed. That was definitely one of the goals.
Okay. Well, and I did many, many times.
Yes. So the title originally comes from the "Sorry We're Closed" sign that a store
Right.
might put up when they're closed.
Right.
And in the film itself, our main character Lana puts up that sign kind of as a joke on her workplace, just because she doesn't want people to bother her. And then she puts an additional note over that to cover the word "closed," and he had the word "dead" on it.
Right.
And so the title references this moment in the movie, but of course it represents all these deeper things as well. Lana is this, as I said earlier, she sort of shriveled up and died from doing the job. She's sort of closed off emotionally. So the "Sorry We're Closed" Stein sort of represents her. She's sort of shut herself off from the world and from emotions and from trying to do more with her life. But then her putting that "dead" posted on it is this kind of silly, hyper exaggerated, sarcastic, dry
All,
joke that
all
I
of that,
think represents. Yes.
all of that, but the clear message was sent by by putting that up. I think that was
Yeah, they're
really,
putting the "dead" in there.
that was
I
great.
think it's whatever. It adds that layer of like this sort of sarcasm or um yeah, exaggeration that the film will follow. The
Yes.
title does have the problem that many people think it might be a zombie movie. I do acknowledge that is a problem with
Oh
the
no, but
title,
that's
but
okay.
uh,
It was fun
yeah.
all the way through. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh yeah. And so, how early did you know what kind of story this wanted to be?
I would probably say right from the beginning. I mean, it
Okay.
maybe the very first things I was writing down were more comedic in nature. I kind of thought we were just going to be making fun of a bunch of these silly things that happen.
Right.
But also very early on, after I made note of some of the funny things I wanted to put into the story, and then as I started kind of deciding who the main character was, the character we end up with in the film, Lana, was kind of coalesced very quickly as I was trying to decide what kind of character I want interacting and having these mistakes happen around her. And I thought this type of character, this sort of sarcastic and monotone character was the perfect foil to some of the more ridiculous aspects of the job and kind of a ridiculous coworker I really wanted to write in there. And then very naturally, a story formed around her of, kind of trying to get out of the rut that she's in and open back up a little bit more emotionally.
Well, I
Uh,
think all of us have been through ruts. I think because I could identify with some of those ruts myself.
yes, yes.
Well,
I mean, same here, of course, which is how it's
yeah.
some of how that ends up being written.
Yeah. Yeah. And the film does balance dark humor with emotional gravity. How intentional was that mix?
Again, I would say quite intentional, I think.
Yeah.
I used to, as I said, the film started much more comedic when or the initial seed had a lot more comedy, and I always tend to write comedy. But I found, especially as I was a college student and writing a lot of absurdist and comedic scripts, that just kind of constant nonstop comedy, especially when it's absurd as some of my stuff is, it does it becomes too ungrounded, or like the jokes don't land as much. You almost need something else, something to contrast the comedy.
Yeah.
So I over time have landed in this world where I will often have, I guess, a dramedy is technically the word, where there's
Okay.
kinds of moments of drama in between all the comedy.
Yeah.
So this was very natural of a script for the way I have slowly found that seems to work the best for what I want to write.
Okay. And yeah, there was plenty of drama in comedy. Dramedy is, I guess, is the perfect way to describe that.
I
Um,
guess so.
yeah. And so, what themes felt most urgent or unavoidable as you were writing?
As you mentioned earlier, sort of, we've all kind of been stuck in some ruts at various times in our
Oh,
lives, I
yes.
think. And so that theme just cropped up very early on. In the earliest writings, I was kind of pretty sure that we would be following that theme, and that would be one of the main things happening with Lana is her finding that she's stuck in this rut. I mean, I'm sure creative people have all experienced this kind of having a job that isn't so creative, and feeling like, "Oh, maybe we need to break out of that, or is it a good idea to break out because maybe it's scarier out in the trying to actually do a creative job." But even for those that aren't creatives, we've all probably felt stuck in some kind of job at some point in our lives. So that was one of the most natural things to poke at, and all the themes surrounding
Right.
that of like, does it make sense? How much do you want to rock the boat if you are relatively comfortable in your life, but I do feel like it needs some change?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
And
Common themes
yeah.
for almost any. I mean, even for me, I worked in a railroad blue collar field, and
Mhm.
good career. But yeah, there were times when man, I don't know, maybe I'd like to be a dancer. No, I'd never do a dance, but anything different. But yeah. It's just there were just common themes. And you mentioned do you like to focus on comedy in your movies?
I guess the answer is yes. It is the most default state for me. Almost everything I come up with is, I usually notice something funny. That's what most gets me interested in writing something.
Okay.
However, the film I'm currently most focused on actually contains very little comedy. The film I hope becomes my second feature film now is actually not really a comedy at all. So it's not exclusively what I do, but I
No. Okay.
mostly stick to comedy.
Okay. All right. Um, and were there moments where humor felt like a necessity rather than a choice?
Hmm. Interesting question. The the initial answer that comes to me is there would be times when I'm writing that I would feel like, oh, we've just had a bunch of comedy, so it's time for a more dramatic beat. And then
Okay.
the reverse would be, we've just had a lot of drama. It's time before the next dramatic beat. I now want a lighter scene in between. So in that way, I would sometimes, without knowing specifically what the funny scene might be, I would have this idea of like somewhere here wants to be a moment of levity.
Okay.
So it's definitely something like that was going on, where there would be times where I felt like the script now wanted something funny or lighter for
Hmm.
a moment.
Yeah. And did the script evolve significantly during production?
Yes, though the finished film is still quite recognizable. If anybody read the earliest drafts, they would still recognize the
Okay.
general idea of the film and the main character.
Right.
But it started when I first sat down to write, as I kind of said way earlier, maybe I thought I was writing a 5 to 10 minute short film. So
Oh.
right there was a pretty big difference between the final film here, which I believe is 83 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I first sat down to write, I think I ended up with 29 pages, which a page is about a minute when in the screenwriting format. So I wrote about a 30-minute film on my first sitting,
Wow.
which was the longest thing I had ever written up until that point, and it was
Yeah.
very unintentional. I thought I was writing a 5-minute piece, but I just kept writing in one single sitting until suddenly with 30 pages of screenplay.
Wow. Well, I tell you, it never felt slow. It was entertaining throughout. It was really great.
I'm glad you feel that way.
Really, really great. Yeah. Um, so and what were you looking for in casting the lead role? And did you already have Sarah in mind or?
I did not already have Sarah in mind, though I should
Okay.
have, because it turns out I had actually met her, though I didn't realize it prior to casting her.
Oh,
When it came time to cast, go ahead. Were you about to ask a question?
oh, no. That was it. That was it. Yeah.
Okay. So when it came time to cast, as I had had a lot of people read the screenplay and offer their feedback, one of the notes I kept getting was that some people were very turned off by the character of Lana. And that,
Oh,
her sarcasm and or her monotone behavior, or just like the way she would treat her friends or her coworkers, they didn't like her. And I don't believe that a character needs to be likable necessarily, but I do think that we want to have some type of empathy with a character at least. So one of the things I was looking for as I was casting was like, who here do I feel like when they're going to be extremely sarcastic to me, who would I still either like or feel some sense of empathy for as they do their sarcasm. Several people came in and did a really like biting sarcasm that kind of made me go like, oh, if you were a coworker of mine, like you would be sort of difficult to put up with if that was the sarcasm you brought every day to your
right.
job.
Right.
But then Sarah came in and just kind of nailed this sarcasm with often just like a little hint of a smile, or somehow just, I don't know. She managed this type of sarcasm that I found fun, and I was on her side when she was doing that.
And I
I
found a
too
very,
against her.
I found a very deep sweetness. I got to tell you, watching that, I have, she reminded me so much of my youngest granddaughter. It was unreal. My granddaughter's very sweet, lovable, but and she can be sarcastic. Throughout the film, I kept noticing that. So that was a real plus for me. It really was.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it was. And so what did Sarah Lee bring to the performance that wasn't on the page? But you've mentioned a few already.
Yeah, even as I was mentioning there, I mean, a big one is just the nuance which she brought to her sarcasm and her monotone deliveries was, something that not everybody was seeing on the page. So she found a way, at least to me, that she really made that stuff sing. I guess for some other little examples I could think of off the top of my head, just these little bits of nuance she brought to a scene that I had never intended or even considered. There's a moment late in the film where something bad happens to her, or bad happens to people around her.
Yeah.
And in the script, I just had it written that she just kind of stands there and watches. And obviously she's affected by it, but she's not doing anything about it. But in the moment when we actually came to shoot that scene, she ended up kind of trying to speak. Like she sort of blubbered out some lines without managing to say any actual words. Just like, what? I'm doing a terrible job of that there. But she did this thing where she just like stumbled through a non-sentence that was just like so beautiful, so much better than the thing I had written, which was she just stands there and does nothing. She found this way to do something and like try to do something, try to fix the problem.
Yeah.
But the script didn't allow her to fix the problem. But Sarah Lee, the woman who was playing Lana, found a way to like try to do something without breaking the script, and like because she's not allowed to do anything in that moment. And she's found this way to like create a line almost, but there was no actual dialogue that she said. Anyway, that's a great moment I always noticed that I had never written. Or just another real silly tiny moment that I always notice is she at one point meets another woman in a cafe, and that woman is quite sarcastic as well.
Oh yeah.
And she asks, "Can I sit down here?"
Bertha.
Yes, Bertha asks. Oh, sorry, Lana asks Bertha, "Can I sit down here?" Bertha says something like, "Yeah, there was a ghost sitting there, but it's fine." And then Lana just does this tiny little reaction. She almost like looks at the seat like, "Oh, wait, was there a ghost in there?" That was just I had not written anything like that. I don't think I'd written any reaction for her in that moment. But Sarah just
So there was some ad-libbing going on there in that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely the film has some ad-libbing, though, overall it's still quite close to what I had written, but
Sure.
but I would not say there was no ad-libbing at all. There was definitely lots of little things that either didn't go according to plan, or that we made up on the spot, or discovered in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I sure felt she was just wonderful in that part. I really did. Just
Oh
great.
yeah. Oh yeah, she's made it.
Yeah, she did.
And she's nothing like her character, by the way. You've probably discovered this with talking to her, but she's
I know.
warm and bubbly in person, and not at
Fantastic.
all this kind of monotone, sarcastic person.
And a huge thing that we did interview her just before, and it sounds like that the whole work, the camaraderie among everybody on this film was just wonderful. Cast, crew, everybody getting along just swimmingly well. That's got to be a big plus.
Yeah, that was definitely one of my goals in setting down to make the movie, because I do work on other people's independent features for a living, and they vary. Sometimes they're kind of grueling, and you work 16-hour days for 3 weeks straight, and sometimes there's not always the most pleasant people around.
Yeah.
Generally, I feel like I am pretty lucky and end up on a lot of sets with really wonderful people, but you sometimes will end up with people that are not the best, and they kind of drag the whole experience down. But I have a handful of movies that I've worked on that were just such a dream to work on, with the crew all being kind of best friends by the end of it. And I really, when it was actually working on one of those that inspired me to try to make my own movie, because it was so much fun. It was some of the most fun I ever had in my life working on one of those movies.
Wow.
And I was like, I want to do that. I want to make that. One, I want to make a movie, but two, if I could curate the same experience, that would be amazing.
Wow. Well, like I said, it sounded like it was just a wonderful cast and crew altogether. So were there scenes that demanded a lighter or heavier directorial touch that you had to deal with?
Certainly the answer is yes. Will I come up with good examples? There would be one of our actors, the actor who plays Bird. His name is David Morales.
Okay. Yeah.
He ended up kind of ad-libbing more of his stuff than almost anyone else. I mean, still he follows fairly closely with what he was written, but he would often just like try a new little twist, try a different move, or just like changing a line in a surprising way, where it still gave the same general thing we needed out of the scene. So he I would kind of I felt like so many times I would just let him go. Like I would almost not do anything because he just kept discovering so many things on his own. I didn't want to jump in there and break that. He was just doing so much to create his character and find things. And yeah, he definitely made stuff out of whole cloth or out of thin air in so many scenarios. There's a moment near the end of the film where he walks out of the room and says something like, "The bird is out," and then he goes,
Yes,
"Tookie,
the
tookie,"
little
with the
chicken
like
walk
tail
thing.
feathers as he walks out.
Yes,
That wasn't in the script. He just made that up as he
That
walked
was
out on one of the takes.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That was
So I guess, yeah, he might be an example of moments that wanted more light touches, or just kind of like set the mood of like, we're all having fun here, go for it, try whatever you want to try, and then
Yeah.
stand back.
Yeah. Wow. So what did it mean to screen this film at Wild Rivers?
I unfortunately missed the screening myself because I think there was
okay.
some terrible weather that prevented a flight from landing or something.
Well, that happens.
I was going to the airport, but then kept getting these messages of like flight delayed, and then suddenly I got a message that was like delayed to another day. And I was like, I will miss the screening. I can't do that.
Yeah.
And by the point I got that message, it was too late to try to find a backup plan. Even if I started driving, because I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, and so technically I could kind of make that drive in some 8 hours or something. But by the time I knew, I basically couldn't even pull it off if I immediately jumped in my car and started driving.
Okay. And that's a trek up the coast.
Yes, I mean I would have been. I hope I can come. Maybe for my next film, I'll get to actually come in person.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
I was very
man.
happy to be
You bet.
at the festival, though, even though
gosh.
I missed the actual screening itself.
Okay.
I'm so sorry about that.
Oh no.
Hopefully,
That's
next film I get to be there.
All right. Now, and you say you live in the Bay Area. Was that film all shot in the Bay Area?
Correct. The whole film was shot in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Oh, wow. Okay. Familiar with it only because I've worked in that area many, many times. All Oakland, San Jose, all over the place there. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. So
Not the most.
what? Go ahead.
I was gonna say not the it's not LA, not the most typical place for movies, but
Well,
there's
not-
something always a little bit of movie work going on here.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's some beautiful. God, it's a beautiful place. I think might be a little crowded, but it's a beautiful place. Yeah.
If you can get out to the outskirts in some areas more, and you're still kind of in the Bay Area, and you can be in some fairly emptier places if you'd like.
Oh, for
And
sure.
in fact, we've kind of filmed in more of the outskirts of the Bay Area rather than in some of the more densely packed areas.
Yeah. Yeah. So broad question, maybe, but what's next for you as a filmmaker? Anything right on the horizon, or you just kind of taking a little break and figuring stuff out?
So while I was in the editing process on this film, I wrote 2 other feature scripts, which is funny because I'd never written even one prior to making this movie. I mean, except for this movie, but I had been too scared to try writing a feature film. But then suddenly, I don't know, the barrier was broken, and suddenly writing a feature film is doable. So I've written 2 films during the editing process for this film, and then one of those I've kind of doubled down on, and I'm pretty sure is my next film. I'm kind of trying to get all my eggs together. That's the wrong thing. All the ducks in a row, I guess.
Okay.
All the ducks in a row to be able to film it this year. I'm kind of hoping in the next few months
Okay.
here I could manage to film it.
All right.
But things aren't 100% nailed down just yet that I can give any guaranteed production date or anything like that. But I'm hoping we're on it quite soon.
Okay. Good. Well, we just got a couple minutes left. I was going to ask you though, what age were you? What brought you into this? Wanting to do this kind of thing in film?
To do this kind of thing, like make a movie. I guess you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no one answer. I've somehow always kind of wanted to do that as far back as I can trace. I have like little movies I made as a kid when I was 8, and my parents bought a little tiny digital camera, a little DV camera, and so I can find a thing when I think I was 5 or 6 that I no sorry 5 or 6, that's wrong. I just said 8. Yeah, I think I must be 8. and foremost when I made that little movie. And it's just always been an item on the list to try to do a feature-length thing one day.
All right. Well, I tell you, we're thrilled to have you here to talk about this, and it was a wonderful film. And thank you for being on the show, Alex Zajicek, and I hope I have that name correct.
You got it right. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. So Sorry We're Dead is a powerful and distinctive film, and it's been great having you, Alex. Thanks for joining us on Wild Rivers Film Radio. I'll try to say that correctly. Sorry We're Dead will screen again as part of the Afternoon Indie series Saturday, February 7th at 2 p.m. at the Chetco Public Community Library in Brookings. So that's it for this episode of Wild Rivers Film Radio. To learn more about the festival, buy passes, volunteer, or explore sponsorship opportunities, visit wildriversfilmfestival.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. So the recording today was Mr. Michael Gorse, sound mixing and editing, Tom Bozak, producer Sue Wright, and today's guest, Alex Zajicek, and Sarah Lee before Alex. We're really thrilled to have you both. And I'm your host, Rick McNamer. We'll see you at the movies. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, everyone.